Great.
For
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome on behalf of Central Florida Indian community. Thank you, Harpal, for hosting this, very important college admissions session. And now Milan is going to introduce Harpal. Milan, can you please?
Milind.
Hey, Shrini, you said something?
Yes, please introduce Harpal. Thank you.
Hey, hello everyone. Harpal is here. Harpal is a friend from college. I known him for a long time, and he's been successful in starting this college admission consulting business some time ago. And he has helped many students, and he'll be able to talk a lot about that rather than me doing justice to it. So I'll turn it over to Harpal, and Harpal, take it from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Milind. Thank you, Shrini. Appreciate the time, guys. I'm so excited that you've made the time to come and hear this important session. College admissions counseling is very dear to me. I have two daughters, and both actually use my services a lot. So I became a cool dad and got very close to my own daughters in the process of teaching them or about the college process. And so it's very dear. And in the session today, we'll talk about what colleges look for, how you can put your profile together for them, and we'll end with value colleges and propositions that take you into merit schools, schools which are financially more affordable. As you can see or know, the college experience and tuitions are going through the roof. So, those are three constructs I'll be talking more about. Again, I'm going to talk to rising juniors, rising seniors, rising sophomores, and rising freshmen. So this session is for all four cohorts. Even if you're just a student who is going into high school, maybe a year away, great. I will try and cater this to you. I'll keep it generic. Over the summer, I'm going to do about 10 webinars of this kind. As you come on my mailing list, I'll give some details later as well. So please do attend those sessions. There will be a lot more focus, but today's session is mostly larger overview, academics, what colleges are looking for, how you can profile yourself in especially the summer, specifically for those. So here's the agenda. Okay, we'll talk a little bit about myself, my credentialing, my company, what it does. Then we'll talk about what is a good SAT score, because that's become very important for college applications planning, how you can figure out your timelines as rising juniors or rising seniors, what are the common mistakes students typically make. We'll talk before that about the qualities that colleges are looking for, how you can triangulate your profile to be on those lines. Common mistakes in the application process, which is really more targeted to seniors. How to start the college search process. Hopefully it's not for the seniors. Seniors have still already perhaps figured out their list of colleges to apply to. Applies more to 10th graders and rising juniors or rising sophomores. Then we'll go into what you could do in the summer with terms of research, passion projects and internships, how those help the process, what are some cliches around that. But again, this is all for you, okay? So if you see questions that are not answered or you want to dig deeper into questions, the chat is open. I can see the chat in front of my screen, so I can answer questions specifically for you on that, okay? But towards the end, we'll talk more about the hidden treasure schools, generous merit scholarship schools, hidden schools for the hidden gems, as we call them, for engineering, CS, and pre-med, which tends to be more of where the communities tend to send their students. I sent both my daughters to humanities schools to study CS and engineering, and they did great. So that could be a perspective to understand how you can take a little bit of a different edge in the process. So I became a college admissions counselor by chance. It was when my older daughter, I have two goddaughters. One is at recently finished from Carnegie Mellon, doing a PhD now at UC San Diego in machine learning, AI, ethics. And I have a younger one who goes to Santa Clara University, which is a private school in the Bay Area. Yeah. I became like I said, mostly because chance, because I did not understand the process. I did not study in the United States. I studied in Mumbai with Milind. Milind and I went to the same engineering college. Um, and I wanted to learn so I could really genuinely help my kids, not just to get for just wanted to do it, but I saw my kids suffering. I struggled understanding what APs were or what honors classes were or what classes to be taken. I just was not used to that kind of a open curriculum. So I went to Stanford, studied there under the Dean of Admissions. Then I got certified at UC San Diego. I'm also a member of the Independent Education Counselors Association. I'm a bona fide member there. I'm also a certified education professional. So in the last 8 years, I moonlighted for 5 years as a software engineer, working my day job at Salesforce and in the evening doing college admissions counseling because it was fun. I built a team up, and about 3 years ago, I and my counselors, we figured we should take this full time. So I have a team of 10 counselors working for me, tutors, mentors, and counselors, and there's myself working full time in the business. And then we just put together structured, KPI driven prologues or methodologies for our students. Each student gets a very personalized study plan, guidance plan for their career, and for colleges, all as part of the process. So these are the 7 services that Success Coach provides. I started with providing just early admissions, early planning, and college admissions counseling in terms of essay support and what kind of colleges could you apply to based on your financial situation. As I was doing that and helping 12th graders, I realized the profiles were not what I wanted to see. So I extended the business to work with the rising seniors or rising juniors so I could help influence their profiles through SAT, ACT prep, and STEM tutoring. So for students who were not doing very good in certain subjects, I could bring in tutors to help them. So students who were doing really well in subjects, I could help them excel by helping them into competitive testing, like AMC, AMI, USACO, the different competitive the testing. So what happened was over time, as we started on college admissions counseling, then went downstream to help students put a profile together. By the time they came to senior year, their profiles were a lot more ready. I could put together passion projects, I could put together research, mentoring, competitive testing, all of those. Another area I built the business a lot more is in the area of applying to summer research programs. And I noticed this is more of sometimes it's more of a California thing or East Coast thing where parents are really focused on getting students into highly competitive summer research programs. So, but I'm opening it up because it's a great avenue for students to learn about how to get to competitive research programs, how to put applications together, how to put essays together in the 10th grade or 9th grade for some of these programs. Like MIT has from something called Beaverworks, NASA has SEAS. There are different programs we can talk about which your students can apply to. The other area is specific extracurriculars like debate, mock trial, model UN. I have debate coaches on my team and mock trial coaches who can help your student get a running start on a lot of these programs, which the students tend to shy away from. But those are very important areas of support that can make the difference in an application because it shows a lot more well-roundedness in your student's profile. Lastly, we added mentor-led guided research, which is done to augment research that students might do outside, but putting the basic research muscle in a student, interest to do research, was something which we put together. So across the board, we are basically what we call as a one-stop shop, full service for college admissions counseling. Once you come in, start working with Success Coach, and you don't have to look outside. And this was mostly born because I was tired going to different tutors and coaches to help for my students getting them into good colleges. And as I did it, I wanted to make sure that the next generation of students we help don't have to go through the problems I had to go through for my own kids. These are some numbers that show how my students have done over the years. In the last 3 years, we've gotten admissions for, on average, the top schools, the top 50 schools. We had 4 offers per student, and 66% of our students have gotten into the top 30 schools in the country. There are 16.5% of the students who got into an Ivy League school. And then the UC campus, which, because I'm based in California, a lot of my students apply to the University of California. I would highly encourage you all to apply, consider UC schools in general, because they're phenomenal research academies. 41% of my students got into the top 6 UC academies. Again, none of this happens by chance. It's about the structured process that my students go through with Success Koach over 4 years of conditioning, or 3 years, or 2 years, whenever they come to us. This slide I'd created a long time ago, but it is still very evident of users. Most parents and students just glue on the numbers because they put some dimensionality of what matters to what. So specifically, 6 dimensions to your personality objectively. Again, this is just prima facie, on the face of it, what parents and students will understand very quickly. SAT, ACT, recommendations, demonstrated interest. What I wanted to put together was what matters most. So for private schools, the top private schools, GPA matters more like 55 to 60% of application. Public schools, that goes to more like 70%, 75%. So GPA is important. But what's not important is you took 7 APs in 11th grade or 5 APs in 10th grade. Those are recipes of disaster. Okay? When a college admissions counselor looks at your profile, they're not just looking for a cluster of APs or honors or IB programs. They're looking for purpose-driven programs you applied to and got excelled at, learned from, which you can talk about in your essays, in your recommendation letters, can somehow come into your activities list. What an admissions officer is looking for is, after, they typically spend like 4 to 5 minutes reading an application in which they read the transcript, the recommendation, the essays, and activities list. They're not looking to get dazzled. Okay? They're looking to feel good about knowing who you are as a person. They want to know, is this a student I can meet for a cup of coffee? Is he fun to talk to? Is he intriguing? Is he a showboat? Is he just flexing his muscles? They're not looking for that. Okay? And that's classically the mistake a lot of students fall into. They create a cluster mess of activities. They write all about how great they were. They forget to write about their failures, or they forget to write about what they learned from a failure or from a success or from a mediocre performance. Those are some of the things they're looking for. If you go to my website, successkoach.com, you could also see the same application process in more details. Okay? And successcoach.com has a plethora of good information on a lot of processes, what the dimensionality we look for in students, the application process. If you are a rising senior, this is typically the journey you will be doing. We want you to finalize your majors that you're going to apply to. If you're going undecided, we want to know your couple of majors that you are going to perhaps write about. Just saying, I don't know, is not a good answer. Yeah? We want you to finalize building your list. You start building it in May, June timeframe, but by end of June, we need a list finalized. Then we start putting story dossiers, stories about your life, just 5, 6 line stories. How you grew, what did you like about what you did? It could be a story about a lost friend, could be a story about an excursion or a trip or a relationship with somebody gone sour, whatever it is, what you think is core to who you are, not what admissions wants to know about, but who you are as a person. And trust me, at the end of the day, who you are as a person is very, very crucial. You might think I'm not that great, but if you try to fudge a story, that does not come across authentic at all. Okay? So story dossier is about who you are. No fancy language, simple language, what you did, what you learned, what did it make you feel like? That's what I want to hear about. Okay? What's your strategy for recommendation letters? Just asking for a recommendation letter is not enough. Or a teacher saying, yeah, I'll give it to you. You have to feed the teacher a lot of details. That's called a brag sheet. My students will start building a brag sheet as early as 9th grade. Okay? Personal essay comes a lot later. Remember, story dossiers comes a lot sooner. Personal essay comes a lot later. Then supplemental essays. That's your application process. I want to make sure I'm not losing you guys. So keep putting questions in. Even if you agree with it or don't agree or have a question, keep putting it in the chat. The chat is open for you to give me some energy to know I'm not just talking to a wall, and tell me if this is connecting with you. I'm all about having debate. This is your time. Okay. As I said, in 4 to 5 minutes, a college application reader is going to make your decision about letting you go to the board to make a final decision or not. It's not a very fancy process. They are looking for academics, but they're also looking for where you made an impact. They are looking for consistency and commitment. So they're not looking for you to have done 20 activities. For God's sake, don't fill up all 10 activities in the Common App that come across to you. Fill up like 5, 6 with important milestones. That's what I'm looking for. Less is good. Less and more influential, detailed is better than more and mediocre details. When we talk about community work, we're not talking about you going to a temple and helping with, making the food. Community can be anything. Team of 4 people can be a community. Something you did in the neighborhood, something you did in the school. What's more important is what you did, how you grew it, how did you help others. The story, like I said, is a combination of how the community benefited, not you. Okay? What's your legacy on the community? And why is this so important? Because if you think of the curve, when you're going to college, you are like in high school, 11th grade is this way, 12th is a little harder. College literally goes like this. Okay. So the amount of work expected from a student when he applies to college or gets to college is much higher. And the professors might not even know your name. Okay. So the community is what you bank on. You lean in on the community to help you with helping you through the process. That's why communities matter to colleges. So 2 questions have come from Prithvi. What do they look for in the most in these 4-5 minutes? Look at the dimensionality I gave you. The details I provided. Transcript matters. The quality of the transcript matters. The recommendation quality is a kingmaker. The activities list, this glance through. So think of 4-5 minutes with the admissions officer. The litmus test is not what they care about. Yes, I gave you the dimensionality of percentages wise, but if you were to write your entire profile in 3 lines, what would you write about it? It's a very hard work challenge to put it together, but that's what your counselors like myself will put a story together, make you connect the loose ends of building that story in 3 sentences. What should you put on your brag sheet? Check asked. You put details of, there are typically 6 questions in a brag sheet. Why did I choose you, my teacher, to be a brag sheet, my recommender? Write something detailed about what that person knows uniquely about you. Where are you headed in college? What major? Where are you headed in your career? That's 3 questions. And then there are 3 questions specific to the classroom or a project. How did I help in the class? What intrigued me, uniquely showed me about the classroom. So that's the whole structure. There's a method to the madness in a brag sheet. Feel free to put some time, check on my calendar. Happy to tell you more about it. Okay. Chapter 2, SAT versus ACT. For whatever reason, students in the East Coast prefer to do ACT. Students in the West Coast and the coast in general tend to do SAT. Both are wrong. Okay. The decision to make and do SAT versus ACT is not to be made based on what your buddy took or your elder brother or elder sister did. It's based on taking both the exams, getting a feel for both the exams. Personality of the test matters. Are you somebody who likes short, quick, more questions, or simpler questions, or longer, a little more complicated, but less questions? That's kind of a litmus test to know SAT versus ACT. Literally making the wrong decision, SAT versus ACT, could cost you 10% of your application, 10% of the performance on the score. Okay, so make sure you do that. SAT used to be optional. It still is optional, but I'm here to tell you it's no longer optional. It is literally, take my word for this, in this application cycle itself. So if you're a rising senior applying to college, and if you're thinking of submitting your application SAT or ACT optional and not submitting it, you should reconsider that. What recently happened was the UC San Diego led a charter of like 1,400 professors across the UC signed a petition saying UC's made a huge mistake by going SAT, ACT blind. So UCs are one of the very few institutions that went blind. Other institutions made it SAT optional, and it's an unwritten rule, but the top 20 schools will absolutely want your SAT scores. They just don't call it mandatory because it'll impact their the number of applications they'll get. Okay? But starting now, because of what happened just in June this month, there's a pretty strong chance that 27-28 admission cycle, this will be mandatory. And for 26-27, schools will look at it very, very closely. Your math score, your English score will be really scrutinized. So do not send your SAT application or your application SAT optional. Okay. The one way my students do SAT, ACT prep is I make all my students sign up for this website, acely.ai, acely.ai. I don't get a cut from them, but what I do is I use the service because it's a phenomenal application. It's like a Khan Academy on steroids for SAT and ACT support. And my tutors who work one-on-one with our students will give question banks on Acely, specifically targeted to specific needs of that student. And we can remotely monitor what they got wrong, what they got right, how much time did they take a particular test. So on average, you see about 150 point increase in the student performance by taking Acely and our coaching together. Yeah, typically, if you're applying to a top school, like a top 50 school, you should be planning for a 1500 plus SAT and a 34 plus ACT, not like a 35. Okay, and that's why I called it 34 plus. If you're looking at public universities, you can go a little lower, but to err on side of caution, go plan for 1500. Okay, chapter number 3. I've broken it into like 7-8 chapters, this conversation. Planning your timeline. Now, I've made it for junior and senior year, but if you're a younger student, don't get discouraged. The junior timeline applies to you as well. It's just a lot more intense for junior year, but starting 9th grade and 10th grade, you should be thinking these things as well. Let's talk senior year. Testing should obviously be almost complete. If testing is not completed, don't stress, but at least first attempt should have been done. Now, if you didn't get a good score, then plan for August timeline. Don't plan for June, July. August also is hard because you need to work on your applications. Or like a September timeline. September and early October is fine because if you're applying early action by 1st November, you will get your results by that time. Okay, but my process is typically do not start writing your personal essay. The one essay that goes to all the colleges. Don't start by writing that because it's a very, very complicated question. The prompt is very complex. You might think it's easy, it's not. I've seen students struggle when they start with a common app. and then they come to me, and then I have to redo the whole process. So start with putting your brainstorming your values into stories. Just blabber a few stories in your Otter or your Zoom, or to a counselor like myself, have a conversation, and we can go through your 4 years of history of in extracurriculars, in research, in classroom, in projects and stuff. And we can find some very interesting pearls of wisdom, okay? And connect the dots for you. And then we can obviously reduce that list. And then from that, the essays come out. Ideation of the Common App statement should happen much later. Even if you're not applying to the UCs, look at the UC prompts and try to answer the UC prompts, University of California prompts, because those become the starting part. Or after brainstorming, do the UC prompts and then go to the personal essay, then go supplementals, and then go for the wacky questions. Okay, I call it the first shitty draft, not because it's shitty, but a first draft is supposed to not, you're going to go through 3-4 drafts. First draft should be long. It should have spelling mistakes in some ways. It should not have perfect sentences, but it should communicate value. It should communicate growth. It should communicate who you are as a person. I am not looking for funky stuff like the earth started shaking or the table shook when this. I was surprised when I saw this. I'm not looking for those fancy one-liners to open things. I'm looking for just content. Okay, save those fancy one-liners or shock absorb, the shock statements for your personal essay, which we plan for more like in August timeframe. Okay. But yeah, this is what we want you to do. Continue doing meaningful work for project work for depth, not for volume. Okay, we're not looking for you to grow more things. Do depth. Do more on what you've already done. Okay, and your recommenders should know what you're doing because they are the ones who will be validating your assertions. Okay. Anytime before the 11th, you are really working on foundations. This applies to 9th, 10th, and 11th graders. So work your foundations, and research programs are up a galore. They're literally like 4,000-5,000 research programs in the country right now. Each will charge you $5,000-$10,000. There are only like a handful, like 50 of those, which are really useful. And the rest are all money-making machines. So be careful about those. Reach out to me if you have specific questions about what programs should you be attending. But I'm a stickler for hustling. If you can get into internships or jobs, and I'm not talking about jobs as a simple instructor, not. I'm very categorically not in favor of those kind of jobs. I'm looking at more jobs in line with your pursued passion, or you're starting a business to help a community. It's got to be a lot more innate, okay? So think about that. I mean, not looking for a job at In-N-Out or at Dunkin' Donuts. I'm not talking about that. As a student, you have one job, which is to get a phenomenal GPA and to excel at the extracurriculars in the school. If you need to do a job because you're to make financial ends meet, that's great, but not outside of that. Prithvi asks, is there any way you could suggest getting into good research programs? Yes, I will be talking about what research programs are. I'll talk about the prologue, what it takes to get into them. We'll talk more about that. I mean, starting an independent project, a blog, a small business is great. Seriously great. I mean, most of my students will form some kind of a small business where they'll actually make money. And they'll write about that project somewhere on a blog. They'll have somebody comment on it, and they'll put a link to that blog in their application somewhere in the additional information section, because that showcases the time dimension, that it's real. Something like this did happen. Okay. Exploration of colleges and careers. It really has to be about what do I want to do and what's a good place that can make it happen. And what do I want to do can start from something very basic. What do you really care about? And if there are small problems, even engineering problems, or if it's a computer science problem you want to solve, or a pre-med problem, or environmental science, or become astronomy problems, or mechanical engineering problems, astrophysics problems, let's put down some passion projects, okay? And work with a tutor on my team to help you channel your direction in the right position so you can make an impact. So use the summer before the 12th to finish most of your major essays. Major essays means the UC application, 4 PIQs, the personal essay, why major, and what have you done for your community. Those are important, okay? Make sure your college list is done. And at younger grades too, it's very common for my 10th graders and my 9th graders to have a list of 50 colleges. And they will know what these 50 colleges are. They might not know exactly what these colleges excel at, but they'll know at least where they're located. Some of them will actually go and do college visits too. And deepen one or two of your meaningful activities. Okay? We're not looking for massive amounts. Now this takes role for seniors, but it's also on the lines of what Prithvi asked, which is getting into good research programs requires very similar perspectives to think about for applications, because applying to a good research program like MIT Beaver is literally like applying to college. Okay? You have to plan it literally 6 months in advance. You can't just show up in June and try to get into a program. Most students will start too late with the process, and they'll start in September, October for the Common App. That's too late. Okay. Having an unrealistic list of summer programs or colleges to apply to. So if you're applying only to the top 50 schools, you are not doing yourself much of a favor. It might sound impressive on paper, but it's not pragmatic. Your list should have at least no more than 1 or 2 schools which are in the less than 15% acceptance rates, about 5 schools which are in the 20% acceptance rates, about another 5 or 6 which are in the 30% acceptance rates, and about 3, 4 which are in the 40-50% acceptance rates. Okay, and more could be going lower depending on your GPA. But just because you have a list of schools to apply to or a fancy list does not guarantee the admission. I've had students who come to me and say, I'll apply to all the IBs, at least one of them will get me in. That strategy could not be more further than the truth. It's not like a game of, this is not lottery where you can maximize your chances by applying to more. You have to purposely drivenly plan for each school, deliberately write the essays in a way, your profile needs to be intriguing to the school with what you're planning to do, what they can offer. Secondly, your stories have to speak to that school. Okay, that's why you don't copy and paste, which I talked about over here. Do not copy and paste essays from one application to the other. Your activity list needs to be small. The list of activity extracurriculars you do. It's not less. Less is more, like I said, more KPI oriented, number oriented, growth oriented, mindset oriented is more important. We categorically never want parents touching the student essays. We want the voice of a 17-year-old. If there's a typo, we will fix it. We'll take care of that. But the ebbs and flows of an AI essay or a 50-year-old writing an essay, college admissions counselors are sticklers. They are experts at reading that. They can smell a parent or a counselor having touched an essay from miles. Okay. And then, of course, if you start too late, you start ignoring instructions, start putting wrong details, start putting details that they've not asked for, or we can talk more about at some point. So start early, know what your story is going to be and what a school is looking for. Not just because it's in my neighborhood or it's in the top 10% acceptance, I'm going to go for it. Chapter number 4. When and how to start for college searching. This starts with you as a student. So Check asked, can you ask Ada to proofread your essay? So what happens, Check, is parents can give us details in what's called as a parental brag sheet. So parents will give us what they think is a perspective for the student, but proofread again is a very slippery slope. Counselors are there, your school counselor, your teacher, and your student are very good to know if the sentence makes sense. Parents should really get involved is to say things like I tend to do a parent meeting once a month where they look at the progress and they might say things like, this does not represent my student. He's left out so much that he could have talked about. And that's great feedback for us and the student. The student might reject it, but the student A is a CEO of their personality. You need to let them write their essays. Parents can read it towards the end, not when it's a shitty essay or it's a first draft. Parents should get involved in draft number 2 or draft number 3, but they should get involved in putting a parent brag sheet, which is a separate format altogether, where you talk about stories about your child which you are proud of, which you feel very connected with. Not things like he's obedient, he shows up on time, he's a good eater, da da da. We're not looking for that. We're looking for stories which show your pride in your child. Okay? And trust me, when you put a good brag sheet together, your child will love you for that, because I don't know what you guys, my dad never praised me in my life. Never, 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 never. If he was given a brag sheet to write about me, he would have a hard time just scratching his heads. Okay. But I know he respected me, but he never said it. This is a good place to mend ways with kids, with students, and to write a parent brag sheet about what are you proud of them and give examples. Give that to your counselor. Let them put it all together. Okay, so the best college is, like I said, college search, knowing who you are. Do you like to talk to teachers? Do you like knowing who your classmates are, making friends? Do you like a small, like I'm more of a, what I call as a very socially awkward. I'm a very shy person. I would hate to go to a school like UC Berkeley or a large school like U Florida, because those are massive schools. I want to go to a school which is a small school, which is a student size of 20 students in the classroom, students literally arguing and talking over each other to the teacher and discussing a topic very passionately. That's who I am as a person. That's who my daughters were as people, okay? I knew that. But then I have students who in my counseling business, they could care less to know the professor's name. They want to go as far away as home they want to go to, they can. They want to go to a school which has a sports team, a RARA, sorority or whatever they call them, the societies. They want to be part of those. Great. There are schools which will cater to that need, but knowing who you are is more important than what your parents at school thinks the school you should go to, or what US News thinks the school you should go to, or your neighbor says just because he got into a good school that you should go here. Okay? You should know who you are. You're going to spend 4 years of your life. The 4 best years, I would argue, of your life are in undergraduate. High school scars the living daylights out of you. College is where you find who you are, you find your bearings, you learn how to run, because you have to run like a marathon for the next 40 years. So that's the time to really know a school. The school should feel like home. It has to literally feel like, oh, it should even feel better than home. Like when I took my daughter, my older one, to look for colleges, we toured 20 schools in like 14 days. Okay, when some of the schools she interviewed, some schools she just went over there. It was school number 18 when we went to that school. She was dead tired. She didn't want to see a single school. But when she went to that school she went to, she turned around and said, this is it. I'm going to early decision over here. That's how much she knew who she was. But it took time again. Not rocket science from my side. I just took her to several schools, let her in the cafes, let her talk to people over there, and she found her school. Okay? That's also how we make these kids much more value-oriented thinkers. Here's a pragmatic list to filter your list of colleges. Okay? I have some dimensions of this list which I feel very strongly towards, some I don't. I really feel a lot about the feel demonstrated. You have to have a gut feel of the school that you feel you will thrive over here. Even if you go to a small school or not a very well-known school, but you feel in your heart you will thrive here for your own dimension, that's a better school than a school which shows on paper as good. Okay? How far away from home? This matters to a lot of students. Okay? Not as much about job markets. Like some students just want to be close to home. Some want to be one flight away. Some want to be 2 states away, no more than that. Size and environment matters a huge amount. Okay, academic fit, yes. I mean, there are certain things you will figure out. Some things your parents and family will figure out together. But campus culture and values, only you can figure it out. Like there are schools which are cutthroat schools. You know your child will not be happy, or you might not know, but send your child over there, drop them off for 3-4 hours, and ask them how many people they talk to. If they come back saying, I feel good about this school, that's a good school. And bottom line is, you could build a spreadsheet by just using these columns, and you can just screenshot these dimensions, and have your student just put a number on each of these for a particular school you're looking at. You'll know your list from there. Now, summer programs or applications, I also noticed this thing. This is like a lot of things, these things happen in the Bay Area. I've got very ambitious parents, but I really believe in this thing, which is summer is a good time for you to really not just hunker down on getting ready for the next year. That's an important part, but summer should not be wasted. Summer should not be about playing games. Summer really should be about shadowing a professional or working in a local business, taking on a passion project. And again, if you don't have much ideas of these things, this is what you need to talk to me about. Set up time on my calendar. We can discuss what these could mean to you. Okay. But research is one of the easiest ones to get into because there are a lot of research institutions that can help you do it. But a child might not be a research fanatic. That's fine. They might just like passion projects, like knowing why bugs thrive or why the insect population of the world is down by 50%, which is the reality now. And they might want to do research on that. And once they do the research on that, they might want to bring in some other students from the school to work on a project together to show it at one of the Olympiads or at one of the competitions coming up in later in the year. Show it to one of your teachers. Let that teacher be the one who's going to give you a recommendation. So it all works together, right? It's a part of a larger strategy you put together for your application. But these things matter. Internships matter. Real world experience matters. Increasingly, I see very little of this real world work experience. But as I said, do some of this a little bit, but don't expect to apply to college saying, I made money. That should be the reason I should go to college. No. I mean, the best summer experience is one where the student is generally excited about it. Okay. You're not doing it basically for resume value. You are showcasing how you learned and grew and what did you do to get into that program? What did you do after that program? Okay. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about the financial value schools, merit scholarships and stuff. So a very surreal part of knowing what merit scholarship is, I think I had that slide here. Where did I put that slide? No, I had a slide on that. Yeah, right here. Yeah, financial and merit aid. There are two kinds of scholarships you can get, or two ways to get discounted pricing in schools. One is financial aid, and one is merit scholarships. JR raised a hand. Who's JR? JR, go ahead. I'll give you a chance to talk. Go ahead. JR, question? Okay, all right. Whenever you're ready, let me know. Okay. Financial aid and merit scholarship. Like I said, merit scholarship is discounts that schools will give you percentages based on, or discounts to get you in. So typically when you apply to a value school that really wants you, the top 25% will get merit scholarships. The lower profile, has a lower meaning, the harder to get is financial aid, simply because this number, it tells you what qualifies for financial aid. So as a family, if you're making anywhere from $175,000 and over a year, which is luckily in the Southeast Asian community, all of us, or for most of us, more fortunately, make more than this much money. And so most of us are taken away from that financial aid equation. Okay, if you're a single parent making this kind of money, sure, you get financial aid. But anything once you start going 175, 200K W2 income, it's very hard to get scholarship. That's when you rely on your merit scholarships. Okay, and what's really important is looking at the net price calculator on the websites of schools. Those are you can put your name, you can, without putting a name, you can get details anonymously about what schools can throw in for you. You can put in your SAT, your GPA and details, and you can get a pretty good calculation. For my students, I do the calculation myself and figure out what can be done for them. But yeah, this is merit scholarships. These schools typically will give you a generous merit scholarship. And again, for a lot of the STEM schools, the smaller schools like Worcester, WPI, Olin, Rose-Hulman, these schools are phenomenal schools, very nice small schools. Consider applying to those schools, and these schools will let you do give you a lot of merit scholarships. On average, these schools will give like 25, 30% off, and they're very, very good schools. Just because they give you scholarship doesn't mean it's a bad school. In the mid-tier schools, Baylor is a great school. Just acceptance rate is very high, but it's a very good school. Northeastern is a phenomenal school. They'll always give you some scholarships. Santa Clara University is local for me in the Bay Area. It's a great school. My younger daughter goes there. Loyola Chicago, U Denver, University of Vermont. So some of these are not as heard of. I was surprised to read about Tulane. Tulane is a hard school to get into. Okay, 42% of the freshmen will get scholarship, merit scholarship. Case Western is a school for amazing for engineering and med school. Average every year 24-25K per year. Every student gets it. I mean, you want a school. Bottom line is that'll pay for you to get you in. Look at the top schools, school, and look at, do you make it to the top 25% profile of that school? If you do, you're going to get a scholarship. Let's talk about treasure schools, which you might not know of because these are not in the top US news findings, but these are great schools for specific, what we call the ROI on happiness. And some of these are honors programs in schools, some of these are public universities, some are private universities. I filtered it down to specifically engineering, computer science, and pre-med. I didn't put one for business. I can put something together, but most of my students typically tend to go here. So for engineering and CS, the hidden schools, they're not as hidden. Rose-Hulman is very known, but it's a very small school. Cal Poly SLO is a great school here in California. University of San Diego, I'm surprised to find this school, but it shows up on the list because they don't offer a PhD program, but still known for some of their top engineering programs. Olin is a great school in Massachusetts, only accept 100 students every year. That's it. Okay? Computer science, that list is similar. Wisconsin, Santa Clara shows up here too. And then pre-med, Case Western is known for it, Tulane, Vermont. So nobody talks much about University of Vermont. It's a very good school to consider. University of Rochester in New York, it's a little cold, but it's a very good school as well. Okay, so we're coming towards the end of it. So get your questions ready so I can start helping you with this. But in the summer, I'm going to talk literally on every other week. I'm going to be doing presentations to talk on the core college admissions criteria, what students should be doing. If you're a rising senior, you might want to attend the core college admissions. There is stuff more for 12th graders, or well, these are more core. But essay and application draft for common apps, supplemental essays, that you should absolutely attend. AI and essays, using tools ethically without losing your voice. That is an area you should definitely learn about. If you're looking to get into summer programs or competitive US, AMC, USACO, beyond any of those programs, I'll do some webinars on that. But this summer, for the first time in several years, I'm going to get really active on the internet. I'm going to talk a lot about what we do, and parental webinars on pricing, value schools, what you can do to hurt or not hurt the process. But yeah, make sure even for business and leadership spikes, I'll be doing some seminars for that. So really, what we want to do is, hey, thank you for attending. My motto is, we plan for you, you succeed, we become happy. We're very well known on the website. Come to successcoach.com, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. I'm going to be putting a lot of content over there. There's already a good amount of content there. If you've never met with me before, schedule a 15-minute appointment with me in either by clicking this link, which is performance.successcoach.com, RSVP. I should be able to. Just trying to copy it for you guys. Put this in the chat. This is how you set up a meeting with me directly. And these are places where I highly encourage you to, if you're on Instagram and you want to get just tidbits of information from me, please subscribe to my Instagram channel or to my YouTube channel or to my LinkedIn page. I will be putting good stuff on pretty much all these places. Okay. I missed out on this Facebook. Okay. I'm opened up for questions. Anybody have questions? Please go ahead. We still have about about 7 minutes on this call. I'll open it up. I don't know how to open up for If you just raise your hand, I can open up the chat for you to ask questions. Or you can just put it in the chat. Can you please provide your pricing models? Manish, pricing depends on when the student comes in. 8th graders, 9th graders, it's just a different process. So typically, if you're in the senior year, the pricing can range from 4,000 to 10,000, depending on the hours you want. If you want guidance from 10th grade onwards, it can be close to anywhere from 18,000 to 20,000 for the full 3 years. Juniors are about 15,000 for 2 years, and sophomores and freshmen will be a little more expensive. But that's every year you pay a certain amount for money, okay? Online debate programs, Dhiranji is asking for 9th graders. You can reach out to us. I can connect you with some specifics for programs, but I offer debate programs for my own students. My own coaches will do it for you, so we can do that, okay? One question Dimple asked is for H4 students, please let us know the options for internships, scholarship. Yeah, absolutely. You can do scholarship internships. Even you can apply to research programs as an H4 student. You can't make money, but you could do internships for a professor. You can get scholarships are there. There are some scholarships for H4 students too, which would count as international students. Will pre-med work for you? Yeah, you could do it. Sure, Nimla, we can do that. So come by, tell me about it. We'll talk more about it. Prithvi asked a question, how important do you think is doing major specific extracurriculars for college? Not important. Your extracurriculars need to be extra. There's a reason they are not major specific. So I see a lot of students going mechanical engineering, they do robotics. Students who go into a business all want to do Boy Scout and get an Eagle Scout. It's very overrated, okay? Major specific, there's a reason why a child wants to do a certain extracurricular. The fact that they want to do an extracurricular is a great thing on its own. So please encourage them to do all kinds of different extracurriculars. Talk to a counselor to connect the dots to see where the connection comes out. But yeah, if you're applying for med school and your extracurricular is dance oriented, then it's probably going to be a little harder to make the case, but we can still put a biology spin on it and we can make things work, okay? Steve Chai asked, who will work with the students, you or you have a team? I have a big team, Steve. So I am the lead counselor for the entire business. I have essays coaches, I have counselors, I have mentors and tutors on my team. My students will meet with me at least once a quarter, one-on-one with me, but they'll be working with my counselor who will be meeting them once a month. They'll work with a mentor who could meet them once every week in the summer, depending upon what passion project they choose. And they'll work with a tutor, depending upon SAT, they might meet once a week. Okay, 4 more minutes. Any more questions? iPhone asked if a student takes unweighted GPA, how will the college treat this? Will they apply their own scale? Yes. If you only have unweighted GPA, you have a problem. Okay. Not trying to sound like an Indian dad, but that's just the reality of the world. Okay. You do need to take weighted classes. You don't need to go crazy taking weighted classes, but 2 to 3 weighted classes in the 10th grade, about 3 to 4 weighted classes in the 11th grade, something in the summer. So I plan for about 7 weighted classes in your transcript by the school end. Please, for God's sake, don't apply for 12 weighted classes because that'll kill the child. Okay. My school does not weight classes. Okay, that's fine. Then they'll do the weighting on their own. All junior classes IB, that's fine. You're good. iPhone, you're good then. IB classes are as good as AP. I mean, in fact, they are AP classes. Samhita said, my name is Samhita. I am a rising, welcome, bacha. I'm always fun to have kids coming on the sessions or young students getting on the calls with me. My name is, I'm a rising junior. I want to ask, what are some of the passion project research opportunities for summer that benefit somebody who follows business and finance? Okay, so you look at, the question is, what are some of the passion project and research opportunities for somebody pursuing finance or business? Business, look, it's all about showing entrepreneurial zeal. Or if you understand a business model of a particular business and you're working in the business as a marketing intern, great. Even if you are starting your own business idea, you put together a business model, a model canvas together, that's great. I mean, Samita, ultimately, this is not about what you did. It's about who knows what you did, how many more people did you bring together. So if you're just a lone wolf doing this in your garage, you could do the best passion project. It might not carry as much weightage. Get on a call with me, bacha. I'll give you the details about that, okay? Okay, how many APs are needed for competitive schools, Rani? It depends. AP, that's a very loaded question. You don't do AP environmental science and AP sociology and AP psychology and think those are APs. Those are cute APs, but they're not going to move the dial. You need AP Chem, you need Calc BC, you need multivariable calculus. You need some of those things which move the dial, right? If you're low on calculus, if you're not as great on science, if you've not done 4 years of college, foreign language, if you don't have AP Lit, AP Lang, those things will show. So don't go on APs. Come to me, Dharani, put some session together. We'll talk about it, but don't go by litmus test on these, okay? Sanjeev raised his hands. How do I get to Sanjeev? Sanjeev Kumar allowed to talk. Okay, Sanjeev, you can ask questions.
Hey, Harpal, thank you for the session, Harpal. I'm audible?
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So just wanted to check on this, right? Like for the H4 students, so I heard that they will not get a good amount of loans for the higher studies and for the medical seats and also just wanted to check on that for front.
That is correct. In general, H4 students would not. If you're applying to a school within your state, again, I'm not an attorney, okay, so this is not, I can't give legal advice on these things. But if you're applying to schools within the state, you get state fee. You pay for state tuition, not out of state tuition. But if you're applying to private schools, that'll apply. But the schools can give you merit scholarship. Merit scholarship doesn't depend upon your financial or your immigration status. So if you apply to a top 50 school or a top 100 school and it's a good school that you want to go to, they will give you merit scholarship regardless of your immigration status.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we're at 2 o'clock. Any last questions? Either raise your hand and ask or send in the chat, or I'm good to go then. Okay, well, I look forward to hearing from you guys. Thank you so much. You've been a great audience.
Thank you, Harpal. We really appreciate your session, and definitely it will be helpful for a lot of students and parents.
Okay, well, I'm glad to help anybody I can in any other way. Please reach out to me on my website.
Sure.
And we'll go from there. Okay, take care.
Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.